Hi there, thank you for joining me on 50 Shades in Grey. Today I'm joined by one of my best friends in the house, Roger. No, I'm joking, it's Paul.
I was gonna say, mate, what's going on? Hi, everyone. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Well, what's been going on?
Oh, mate, just life's been exactly the same. Nothing's really changed. You like general day-to-day stuff. I would say the one thing that changed from having come out of the house was obviously being recognised a bit more, which was, as you know, you probably found yourself, it's quite a nice feeling, isn't it? Other than
You-
when people are sort of pointing over from the other side of the road saying, "Oh,
I,
there's that,
I,
there's
haven't,
that dickhead across that was on TV last week."
I haven't actually had that. I thought they were sharing this Bert out of Sesame Street.
Have you not? What have you been? It's because you've been going to school and coming home and
Yeah,
but,
I said this, I spoke to Martin the other day actually,
yeah,
and I said, I think we had a, a big time lapse between the show
yeah.
and it had only been aired. So it was like probably what 2, 3 months.
And that time it just seemed to go on and on and on, didn't it?
Well, it was like it never. I think me and you had conversations, didn't we? And it was
Yeah,
like it
yeah,
never happened. So
yeah.
that by the time it was actually
By the time,
released,
yeah.
I forgot about it.
Yeah, completely. No, it's exactly that. I think for me, I was waiting and waiting, and the couple of months just seemed to drag, and then finally, you kind of, like you say, forgot about it, and then it was like, oh, this is happening now. It was very bizarre. It was a really bizarre feeling.
Yeah, I do think in some ways it probably prevented us from getting caught up in it a lot. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Because I think if
yeah.
we'd have come out and it would have been live, I think you could have got caught up and swept
Oh,
up in it.
oh. Do you know
So
what? I couldn't think of anything worse than going on like an absolute, like a live show. That would be crazy.
I,
Like it's a different dynamic completely.
yeah, well, you say that, would it be? Because
Well, I just think that you've got kind of time to prepare yourself and like think about stuff, and whereas live is just, yeah, for me it's like different ball game, I think.
oh, you mean retrospectively when you come out, you've got time to sort of get
Yeah,
prepared for it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly that.
yeah. But I mean, I never expected the show to be as popular as it was in different ways. Actually,
Yeah.
a lot of people that I spoke to were like, I don't ever watch reality TV. I'm not a fan of
Yeah,
reality TV, but I've got to
yeah.
say they said they really enjoyed it.
And I think that was because the whole nature of the show was so wholesome and genuine. And I think that with a lot of reality TV nowadays, it's very much forced and manipulated, whereas our show was very genuine. And I think that people in our age range could relate to it.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. So going back to before the show,
Mm.
how was you meeting people before you went into the show? What was your sort of?
I think I was on Tinder, like dating apps, but they're just absolutely useless, aren't they? Just it's actually quite scary that society nowadays resorts to these dating apps. I think that because it's just so monotonous, isn't it? And I also like in terms of you have the same conversations, you match, and I also think it makes you slightly numb because you might form a connection with somebody and you'll be talking to somebody else, and if it doesn't progress, you're just like it's endless, isn't it? It's endless scrolling, endless, and it's I think for me that makes people numb to their feelings and like meeting the next person. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, because this is interesting actually because a lot of
Mm,
the questions that I've had from women were about men's
yeah,
behaviour on
yeah,
dating sites. And same as you, I
mm,
never did Tinder actually,
yeah,
but I tried a couple sort of a year before we went into the show.
yeah.
Um, and as I've been saying to a lot of the people that put questions to me, that the women's behaviour is no different to the men.
Absolutely
You
not.
get
No.
exactly the same. And I think that's interesting for women to hear because I think it's
Yeah.
a male behaviour. when
Yeah.
actually, like the ghosting, the people being really keen, talking to you every day, then suddenly disappearing
Yeah.
and hearing that.
Absolutely. And that goes back to my point that it's another app that is just endless scrolling. So when you do form like a slight connection online, first of all, you don't actually get a true sense of who the person is because it's very much forced. It's like you can't, like, for me, going back to the olden days of going out, meeting somebody in a bar, that you can actually get who they are, whether you connect with them, one to one. It's just you're talking through a keyboard and you cannot get a true sense of who the person is, if it is the person that they are actually allegedly
Yeah.
to be on the other end, because that's another worry of dating sites now. Like, so many people aren't the people that they appear to be. It's a landmine of.
Yeah, I think I think also dating apps. Obviously, I think people's first on those apps, the only thing that you can go on first anyway is visual because it's all based
Yeah,
on
100%.
it's all based on pictures. That's your first impression of
Yeah,
someone is based on pictures. I think a few of them now have started to introduce videos, etc., which I think is a
yeah,
good idea. It goes down the
yeah,
right road because
yeah.
it
But
lends
then some
itself.
people aren't. Go on, sorry.
No, go on.
But then some people, that the other thing to that is some people aren't keen on doing videos like to people that they don't know. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but I think if you're using those platforms, it sort of it goes with the territory
Mm.
really. Because I'd always
Yeah,
said, and
true.
I've said before in videos about um, you know do a FaceTime with someone because the problem is with filters and angles and everything else now, it's so easy
Yeah,
to manipulate how you look, and it's very easy as
yeah,
the other person to build a picture up in your mind of who you're talking to.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Because
yeah.
I think you shape people into what what you're looking for,
What
and you
you
think,
want?
and what you want,
Yeah,
you
no,
think, oh,
absolutely.
this person's going to be that, and then as soon as you meet them,
Yeah, and I've actually been. I had one years ago, and I was dumbfounded because I actually turned up and she actually looked nothing like what she did on the app, and it was a real shock, to be honest. And I think that was my first, what is it, catfishing or whatever. That was my first experience of it, and literally, it was like a totally different person. And I was like, oh my god, we did have a nice date, but it was just like it's crazy.
but I don't think anyone sets out to do that intention. I really don't. Like, unless they're after
Mm,
something sort of out of view. I don't think anyone means to do it. I
yeah,
think they look at these pictures and think that's the best picture of them, so they put that on there. But
yeah,
but
yeah. And I think there is pressure to kind of, with all these apps, and people want to look as good as possible on these apps, and with all the filters nowadays, it's quite worrying. It is quite worrying.
yeah, I mean, you've got two younger daughters as well, haven't you? So they're growing up
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that environment. As a father, is that something that
Mm.
worries you for sort of body image, etc.?
Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure on younger kids these days to live up to the expectations of what they see, by these influencers. It is a pressure. It's a pressure to look. Well, you see that by, if you follow, you look at most people's profiles and stuff. It is the way society's gone, and it is quite scary. It's very scary.
I always make, as I said to you, I'd never done any social media at all up until we came out
Yeah,
after the house
I
when they
was I
said,
was a bit like you as well.
yeah, when they said, it's a good idea now to promote the show, to
Mm.
get an Instagram account. And then I was
Yeah,
amazed that when I first went on it, it was a wash with just beautiful people. When you go
yeah,
on to look for someone and it gives you all these suggestions, it's like every single guy,
yeah,
every single girl, you just think, oh my God. And I think because
yeah,
you're older,
yeah.
you're desensitized to it in a lot of ways. But I think if
Of
you're sort
course.
of
Yeah,
16, 17 growing up and you're looking at that, you're thinking, well, there's my benchmark. that's what I
Yeah,
need to
and
look
it's a
like.
big pressure for these younger. It's a big pressure for these younger children nowadays because the reality is that again with filters, not everyone looks like that, and not everyone wants to look like that, but younger children are striving for that because it's all that because with the algorithms, every time you go on your phone the suggestions come up and it pushes people in a certain direction, but it's not actually the reality of life, is it really?
No, no, it's not. So good looking guy like yourself at the weekend. Where would women
Well,
looking
thank
for,
you.
where would women looking for a guy like you? Where would they go? Because that's the question I get a lot. Is not about meeting me,
Yeah.
about meeting other guys. Saying like, well, where are these guys?
Do
Where do they go at the weekends?
you know what? For me, like even and yourself, even the thought of going to a club these days is just out of the question. So for I think for both people, male or female, whoever. I think in our age range, it's late bars, like restaurants and late bars. But obviously not restaurants, but
You
yeah,
can't talk to
late
people
bars.
in
Because
restaurants.
so, I mean, it's not out of the question for me to go over
Excuse me,
to and speak to somebody on another table.
I know you're in the middle of your starter.
I think late bars because no one in the age range of wow. I mean, my kids, for example, Lola is 18. She's even saying that when she goes out nowadays that she feels old. So,
Hang on,
uh, which is it's honestly it's crazy
we
though. It's
we actually go
crazy.
to
Like
nursery school.
how do you know? It's that ring doorbell you've got on her, isn't it? It's
She needs to
spying
stop
on her
playing at the
everywhere.
playground.
I think, yeah, I think late bars really, this is the problem, and I think that there aren't that many places where people can meet up because, and hence the reason why people just resort to going back online
But
because
it
it's
is.
so much easier.
But I do think it goes back to something you said before about you said that like,
Yeah,
there's no way that you would go to clubs now. I know what
yeah,
you mean, but I still love going to clubs because I love listening to music. I love dancing
yeah, yeah,
around,
yeah,
and but you
yeah,
do feel not intimidated not to go, but you know you're
yeah,
going to go and be the oldest one in there by a way.
yeah,
So it kind of puts you off, which it
yeah,
shouldn't.
yeah,
It shouldn't do that. And I always remember there was a club um, where I grew up called Faces, which was quite renowned actually. Faces,
the
um,
classic. Yeah.
classic night out there. And
Mm.
I used to go there most Saturdays, finish football, have a couple of drinks, and then we'd end up going there, and that's where everyone went. And there was always a guy in there, and he wore like a white
Yeah.
suit, and he looked sort of 50, 60. Probably
Yeah.
how we look now.
How we look now.
Yeah,
Exactly that.
and I
Exactly
and,
that.
and I used to look, and I used to think, oh, good for him still going out. I hope I'm still doing that, but I
Mm.
don't think I could do that and be the only guy in there because you want to feel
Yeah.
like you're amongst people that you're your own age, and I guess the reason clubs
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that don't survive and why there isn't any of them around is because there's not enough people to go
Yeah.
to them in those areas, so they don't survive.
Yeah.
But
No,
it,
that's
you
right.
know,
And I think I also think that the clubbing scene, unless you're going proper clubbing, DJs, whatever events, the clubbing scene in general now since COVID has completely changed. I think I don't think as many people go out anymore, and I only say that based on what my kids say because and what you could see. You remember like back in our day, we would go out on a Wednesday, it'd be absolutely packed. A Thursday, it'd be absolutely packed. Friday, Saturday, but nowadays, like all. I know for a fact that when I walk through town these days on a Friday night, it's absolutely deserted. Like there's no one around. It used to be the streets would be absolutely packed, but now it's
is that up in
it's
Bath?
very empty.
Are you referring to Bath?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very quiet. And years ago, you would be out. You could go out on a Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, like I just said.
Yeah, I do. I think when we go into sort of into the West End, into sort of Soho way, I always find that really busy. And I think Thursday nights there, the few occasions I've been up there are always busy. But again,
Right,
it's a capital city, so you know
of course, yeah.
it is always going to be busy. So how about moving forward, mate? The future. What are your plans for moving forward? What you got lined up?
Well, I need a holiday first of all. I haven't been on holiday
You only
for a
work
while.
like
I
2
need
days.
a holiday.
Let me tell you,
2 days? That's pushing it, mate. That's
this,
pushing it. That's pushing it.
this man, when we was inside, he said, "Yeah, I do painting and decorating." Since we've been out, every time I call him, he's never at work. He's always at home. I was
Oh
like, "Do you
no!
ever do any work?"
Honestly, I've had people say to me, "Have you won the lottery or what?" Because you're never at work. I'd like to delegate, mate. I like to delegate. No, I do. I need a nice holiday because I've not been on holiday for a while. So that's going to be in the next couple of months without a doubt.
How about everything else? What are you planning on? Anything else? Got any other plans in the pipeline?
Well, I've got a few plans with I'm trying to sort out my old man's house. I want to get back into a bit of development. I did that a few years ago, and that's what I'm trying to organise at the moment. Yeah, I'd like to get back into a bit of development. Yeah, other than that, I just you know what I'm like. I kind of take each day as it comes, really, and yeah.
And don't go to work. Take each day as it
No,
comes. You've got to
mate.
go to work. So who have you been in touch with from the house? Because you know it's like everyone comes out and goes, "Oh, we'll be friends forever. We'll all talk." And so
Yeah. It as the months go by, it sort of slowly but surely starts to fizzle out, doesn't it? So I still speak to Caroline. I speak to Mon a lot. Speak to Sharon. Martin M. I speak to every now and then. I saw Martin H, as you probably saw when I posted just before Christmas. Rog, few messages, obviously yourself.
yeah. So that pretty much is everyone there.
Actually, thinking about it, yeah. Right.
There's not a lot of people left out there.
No, there's not actually, but like you said, it does kind of fizzle out. The momentum fizzles out, doesn't it? Because everyone's got their own lives, even with your close friends out of the show. You know, like life moves on, and you go in different directions, don't you?
Yeah, no, I think keeping in touch with. I've been surprised that everyone has kept in touch as well as they have, because I know,
Have you?
Yeah, I have, because I probably speak to most of the people occasionally, which is the same as I speak to other friends of mine, because life is quite fast, isn't it? And it's finding time to actually speak to everyone. So yeah, no, the same as you, the same sort of people as you are spoken to, which is nice. I think you've got a shared experience. So
it's really nice. It was a great experience. It was a great experience for all of us, and like a once in a lifetime experience.
What was your one takeaway from the show?
Never eat chocolate fingers ever again.
Dude, that was honestly, that was cringy.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. What do you mean it was cringy?
Oh, I felt for you. I was watching you, and everything inside me wanted to say,
not as cringy.
What are you doing?
Mate, it was nowhere near as cringy as Martin M's voice with Tallulah. I just could not bear it. I was sat to the left of them, and his voice, oh my God, that was probably the cringiest moment ever. Go on.
No. So your takeaway, as in something that you felt made you a better person, or was the best experience for you in there?
I think I went onto the show, and I obviously said I had barriers up in a lot of situations with relationships, and I think that it definitely made me reflect on where that came from, And now I'm a lot more aware of that issue that I had before going in.
And does that help you manage that better in anything that's come after that?
Yeah, I just feel like before, I think before I would, like I said before to you that I've met some really lovely people, but I just get to a certain point and I'm like, I don't know whether this is for the foreseeable, or you just don't. Sometimes you just, sometimes I just freak out like a little bit every now and then, and I think that going on the show, I didn't really look into where that came from, and I have reflected on it now, and I do know where it's come from, and I've looked, I do feel a lot more open to my inner feelings.
Are you the kind of person that enjoys being single?
Do you know what? I think that I don't mind, because I think I've been single for a while. I love spending time with people.
Myself.
I love the. I love that. There's nothing nicer than like having someone there, but you also get used to being on your own, and I think I'm happy to be single until I find that right person that's gonna tick all the boxes for both of us. There's no pressure. I just think that I'd rather wait and find the right person than be desperately looking, or I'm happy in myself being single, or meeting that right person.
Would you consider doing dating apps again?
I would never go on dating apps again, no. Well, I can't say never, but I just don't feel the need to right now, and I haven't done since before going on the show. It's not something that, I haven't even thought about dating apps since being on the show.
So before going into the house, and I thought about this a lot over COVID, because I was very close to trying to start my own dating app because I was so frustrated with these dating apps. Obviously then I found out how much it cost to start making dating apps, and I quickly forgot that idea. But if money was no object, what would you do for a dating app to make it work better?
So for me, I think there would definitely be a small period of time that people get to talk, and you have to meet up, because I think that there's too many conversations. Like when you start talking to somebody, sometimes you end up talking for a period of 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks. I personally don't like to do that, but some people do that. And I think that there's too much distraction from other people whilst you're talking to this person, for things to just fizzle out. And I think that that's why people ghost each other, because they've got so many different distractions from somebody else talking to them that's willing to meet up on day 2, that it fizzles out and you get ghosted. So for me, I would have an app that you would have an initial 2 days of talking, or however long, a short period, and then you have to meet up straight away. So for me, I get bored with I used to get bored with the endless, boring, monotonous, same conversations that you have from one person to the next. So for me, I personally prefer to have a quick introduction, have a little bit of banter, a couple of days, and then say Monday, Tuesday, and then meet up on the Saturday, because I just don't think in today's dating you've got that time to just keep chatting, because too many people, there's too many options, too many options available.
I think I don't know why, and listen, like I said, I haven't done these for ages, so maybe they've done this. Yeah. Maybe they've done this now, but I don't know why they don't say, like, you can only speak to one person at a time. Like you can only speak to one person, and I think that would make people make decisions quicker, which is better for everyone all around.
Yeah.
And also, if you're speaking to one person, you need it almost needs to be. And I know it's hard because people work at different speeds in terms of some people need to be comfortable with it. But then I think if they know what the app is about before they go on there, then they're going to be prepared for that anyway. So it's almost like, right, you can speak for 2 weeks, but after 2 weeks, you need to FaceTime. And then otherwise it cuts off. Because at least both of you know where you are and you're heading in the right direction. And someone's just not going to reply out of politeness for, however long. And like the other person wondering, well, is something going to happen here or not?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that it's one of the most frustrating things and it happens quite a lot, doesn't it, ghosting? And I do believe that it's because somebody else has caught your attention, because the options, and I don't mean that in a derogatory manner, it's just, you don't stop scrolling because you're talking to one person, because it's an automatic thing. It's another app that you're constantly scrolling. So when you do start talking to somebody, go on.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, it's the choice again, isn't it? It's like we said before. It's like the menu of when, like, it's like if you go to a restaurant and they've got a great big menu, you're like, oh God, I like that, and I like that, and I like that. And then you decide that, right, that's what I'm going to have. And then the waitress or waiter walks past with another dish and you go, oh God, what was that? That looks really good, I'll have that. And you've already changed your mind.
It's exactly the same as that, isn't it? Yeah, exactly that. No, exactly that. Or all of a sudden you say you worked out the dish that you want, and then they've sold out.
That's not on the menu. If it goes
I just saw it over there. Well, sorry, that's gone.
He's had the last one. Yeah, I bet he has.
I'll go back to the starter then.
Oh, that's gone as well. Starter's gone as well. All right, I'll have a salad.
Oh dear. But that is what I would change.
I'm not sure how they work. I came to the conclusion that eventually, that people being people, they would tear things down to their basic form of everything, because that's what we tend to do. And I think it's very difficult to stop that. And I don't think that's anyone does anything intentionally. I just think it's kind of what happens, because people just make other accounts in other names. You know what it's like, and think, well, I'm going to speak to 2 people at the same time because I want choice.
No, of course they would do. Yeah, of course they do that.
I'm coming around to the idea of that speed dating was actually a good idea, because that's the other thing. I think I said this into the house. What the apps made me realise is that when you go out, there's 1,000 different things that you do in the space of 2 seconds when you're, let's say, in a bar, without actually realising it. You'll take in everyone. You'll see who's with who and who may be single, and how they dress, how they talk, how they interact with their friends, and all of those things happen in a second. And then you'll become attracted to maybe 1, maybe 2 people, and then they may be attracted to you or they may not be attracted to you. So all those things happen without actually realising it, I think. And you have to...
absolutely.
When you go on dating apps, they're actually choices you have to make intentionally rather than subconsciously. And I think that's the great thing. But I think speed dating, I think that could actually, I mean, I know a lot more places are doing it.
Do a circle. Do you know what? I've never done speed. Well, I've never done it. No, I've never done speed dating. But I think you're right, though. I totally agree. I think it's the best way of actually, because you're going back to what I said earlier on, and that is you're actually seeing that person face to face. And like you said, when you walk into a place, subconsciously within a couple of seconds, you've already looked at something, you've looked at, and then when you obviously speak to them, you get the whole appearance, you get the whole of them, don't you? And subconsciously you analyze those things within seconds, don't you? And I think that speed dating kind of ticks all the boxes for that.
Yeah, it's actually, but my brother years ago told me a funny story about it. He went and did speed dating one lunchtime. He convinced me. He said, "I don't want to go on my own." He said, "Listen, I don't want to go to this speed dating on my own. So will you come with me?" And his friend was married, and he said, "Like, I don't want to do this lunchtime." He said, "My brother's like, come on, come with me." So anyway, he convinced his friend to go and do it. So they went and did it and sat down. And my brother said, like, I said, what was it like? He was like, you know what? Everyone was just really bloody rude. He said, like, everyone I said they didn't have time for me. He mean, I couldn't work it out. And when he came out and he was walking up,
I know what you're going to say.
He was telling his friend this. What his friend was doing, his friend was in front of him, and then what his mate was doing was telling everyone that he was actually single, but he didn't want to be there. But his mate is married, and that's how he meets people. He tells everyone he's single when he's married. So all these people,
brilliant. That is
all these people talking to my brother thinking he's married, and he's going, "No, I'm single."
Absolutely classic.
But I do think there is a market now for speed dating, or maybe more social events as well. I think that for me, going back to before, the takeaway thing for me from the house actually being in an environment where you could talk to people, like our conversations that we had at night. Because you can't have those conversations with people that are in relationships and that have been in relationships for a long time, because their last recollection of being single was in their sort of 20s, late 20s, early 30s, and it was completely different then. So you just can't.
Different,
and they can't. Understandably, they don't actually understand what it's like to be single now. And that goes back to the conversation we had before, and that is that, like for me and you, obviously you meet people, like, because you're single, you end up, you go on dates, meet people, but to some of your friends that are in long-term relationships, they're like, oh, you're dating somebody else, and I'm like, well, yeah, but that's what you do, because if you're single, you need to find some, like a partner somewhere. So therefore you do go out on dates, but they're like, in their mind, they're like, oh yeah, you're on another date. Yeah, well, that date didn't pan out. So you're meeting somebody else because you're ultimately trying to, do you know what I mean? But it does look to people that are in relationships, it does look like you're just playing the field and going out all the time, dating these people, but really you're not, you're just doing exactly what you need to do to try and be in the same situation that they're in. And also, when you're older, you know a lot quicker that you're not matched up. And and this works, obviously, everything works both ways. And so people decide a lot quicker that they're not for each other and go, okay, this hasn't worked out. And because they're older, I think they're a lot more mature about it sometimes. And so, then you move on and think, right, well, if you'll go and meet someone else, or they'll meet someone else, then they'll go out again. But I had that a lot in terms of people saying, "Well, you seen someone else?" It's like, "Well, no, I just went on a couple of dates." That's what you do. You go on a couple of dates. It doesn't work out.
Of course you do.
Really nice to meet you. Good luck finding someone if you want to. But that was really nice. That was really nice for me. Was actually being around people, and I think that's what I've found. The feedback I've had from a lot of people is that it's been really nice for them to hear those stories as well, because
because our stories were relatable, weren't they, to a lot of people in the same age range as us. Because I was quite surprised at just exactly. I was quite surprised at just going back to exactly what you just said, just how many people are in the same situation. Because I think ultimately that once you've been in love and you felt a certain way and then you haven't had that for a period of time, I think that people are genuinely like kind of concerned as to whether they're ever going to feel like that way again. And I think that and I think me and you probably all, felt like that ourselves. And I think that going on the show, I think that from the feedback that I've had, like, I just didn't realise how many people were in the same boat, and that were, wondering whether they're ever going to meet anyone again that they feel that way about, or just in general.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the other thing that I've always said to people, and I've had this discussion as well through messages, is that I think most people are quite happy being single in themselves, which again is sort of sometimes that's what makes it hard, because I'm quite happy on my own as well. So then finding someone else sometimes it's a lot to give up sometimes. Which but I think as many people have said, if you meet the right person, it will it won't be a struggle to do it. You'll want to. But I mean, I've not really ever been unhappy being single. I've got to be honest. I've always enjoyed myself. I've always, made decisions that I've wanted to do.
Absolutely. I think. Do you know what? I think the key to it is to first and foremost to be happy within yourself, because that's the most important thing. And as everyone says, if you're not happy within yourself, how are you going to find somebody? But I just think that. I think for people that are in the situation where they've been single for a long time, to just not worry and let life pan out the way it's going to pan out, because the more you worry and the more you think you're never going to feel the same ways that you felt before, the more worry you have. Just focus on you and things will fall into place, I feel. I know that's my general kind of mindset on it. Things will fall into place at some point.
At some point. Right, but
I've gone.
No, I was just going to say thanks. Love speaking to you as always. We're going to wrap it up now.
Pleasure.
But, stay on the line. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely no problem at all. Always a pleasure.
We'll put all your links on in our bio so that people can come and have a look at what you're doing. And if you haven't gone on and had a look at Paul's squats yet, they're something that you want to watch.
More to come. To be continued.
especially the ones.
All I need to do is
the ones that you did across that field, the skipping ones.
Listen. All I need to do is borrow your shorts from the house, and that's it.
I tell you what, you can borrow my shorts from the house and go and sit outside that cafeteria that you always go to on your own in your sunglasses and look pensive.
What, with a glass of red? Lovely little number, mate. Lovely little number.